In this session, we're going to take a look at validation scripts in EventSentry. Now, before we go into the actual configuration of these scripts, I'm going to discuss briefly what these validation scripts are and what you can do with them. I'm here on the EventSentry.com website, and as you can see here, the main description of validation scripts is that they establish best practices across your infrastructure. So validation scripts are essentially a collection of various scripts that perform a variety of checks on your infrastructure and let you know if your hosts, your monitored hosts, servers, workstations, domain controllers pass those checks. If we scroll down a little bit here, we can also see that we have a number of tags that are associated with these scripts. So for example, best practices servers, compliance requirements, and so forth. So it's really easy to not only run these scripts, but to also filter them based on compliance requirements that you may have. And what type of scripts do we have? Well, on the website here, we have a list of all the scripts that are currently in our repository. And if we just take a look here at a few of the scripts that we have, for example, autoplay should be disabled for all drives, domain controller checks about the sysvol directory and control permissions, and so forth. So there's really a number of checks that affect workstations, servers, domain controllers, network protocols, and so forth, password policy, remote desktop settings, and so forth, that help you be more proactive. So rather than finding issues after they occurred with audit failure events, for example, or other issues that may have occurred on your network, the validation scripts attempt to help you be proactive so that you don't have problems in the first place. And EventSentry has a very unique position here because since you're monitoring all your Windows endpoints with agents, we have complete access to these systems and can run a variety of checks on a regular basis. So not only are these validation scripts and these checks available, but they can also be run on a regular basis, for example, every hour, every day, every 15 minutes, etc. And you can also implement your own validation scripts. So if there's something that's not covered by us, then you can set up your own script and run those exactly the same way that you would run our scripts. But let's take a look at the management console. I have the validation scripts container expanded here, and there's 3 packages in there. By default, there's actually more, but I removed the ones that are not applicable to my environment here. And you can see that we have best practices servers. And if you click at the assignment here, we can see that this is assigned to the servers on my installation. Then we have best practices workstation. So that's actually a global package. But if you look at the properties, we'll see that it only applies to workstations, and the same here with the servers. If we look at the properties here, it only applies to domain controllers or servers. And then we have another package. So this is just a warning that's letting us know that this should be a global package. We don't really care in this case. So we're going to say no. And then domain controllers. So again, a global package that's set to only apply to domain controllers. So how is this configured? Well, the configuration of these validation scripts is actually extremely easy. And let's just take a look at the first one, domain controllers. If I expand this, I have a single object in here called scripts. And what we are essentially doing, and how you generally configure this, is you specify the tag, the type of scripts that you want to be associated with this package. So in this case, we have a number of validation scripts, 15, that have the tag domain controller. And these scripts are going to be included with this package and are going to be executed on these hosts that have this package assigned to them. In this case, all the domain controllers. There's a second one as well called health that's also assigned. So there's a total of 22 scripts that are going to be running. You can also block specific scripts. So if there's one that you're saying, well, you know, that's really not applicable, then you can block individual scripts. And finally, we can also decide, you know, to which database the results are going to get written to. Now, the actual scripts are available in the scripts container on the top here. And if you look at tags here, for example, then we can see all the available tags that we have. For example, domain controller. Now we can see the actual scripts that would be run if you assign the domain controller tag. Now, a lot of scripts have multiple tags because they simply apply to different things. For example, there's a script that applies to domain controllers and threat intel, to compliance, NIST 800, and so forth. So if you go down here and you click NIST 800 server, you know, there's different set of scripts. You can view the actual script by clicking on managed. And here you can see all the scripts that are downloaded from our website that are managed by EventSentry. The source for these scripts is available. So you can, for example, double click here and you can actually see the the source of these scripts. And you could easily copy this and create your own version of it if you wanted to. But here you essentially configure your description. You can see how often the script is run. You can force a script to run. So for example, if you have remedied a situation, let's say a validation script identified an issue on the network, but you fixed it and you don't want to wait a whole day, then you can click the force button, which will force the script to run right away as soon as you deploy the configuration. You can also add custom tags to the script. So even though the base set of tags is hard-coded, that comes from our repository, you can actually click the edit button and add your own tag. And finally, you can create your own managed script. So by default, we only have one script here, but you can click the add button here, and you could actually create your own script by setting this to validation and simply filling in all the information here. Name of the script, interpreter, description, and of course, the actual code. And then you can run the script as if it were a script that's downloaded from EventSentry.com and use it just like our scripts. But going back here, so now we have this package here. So domain controllers have this package assigned, and any script that has the domain controller tag or the health tag is going to be executed based on the properties of the script, right? So if you go back here and take another look, domain controllers, the first one here, accounts, block Microsoft accounts. So this script is going to get run every 12 hours. Here are the contents. And if it fails, then we'll see that in the web reports. And that's exactly what we're going to do next. So let's go back to the browser here, and validation scripts can be found under features, validation scripts in the security section. We're going to look at the current status of these validation scripts. Here we can see all the computers that are currently running validation scripts. So just 5 of them, different computer types. So for example, I can exclude workstations. Now I only have the servers listed here, all the tags, and we essentially have a list of results here. So 44 failed and 38 passed. Okay, so 82 scripts in total have been running on these 4 machines. In most cases, we care about the ones that failed because that means that's something we want to take a look at and potentially resolve. So we're only going to look at failed scripts, take a look at detailed, and let's just literally take a look at the first one. So this is what is called general Windows firewall status. So that has been run at 9 p.m. It's not too long ago actually on the EventSentry server. We can see that it failed, so it's red. We can see that it ran successfully, and we can also see the tags that were associated with it. So let's take a look at this script and click this. So now we can see that the full name of the script, the identifier, when it was last run, we see that it's failed, that it executed okay, the L level it returned, and how long the script ran. And we can also see the output of that script. And here it says Windows Firewall profile statuses. The Windows File domain profile is enabled, but the private and the public profile are disabled, and that's causing this script to fail. And that's on the EventSentry server, which I'm on right now. So if I go here and go to Firewall, then we can see if this is actually accurate. Yeah, we can see for domain networks, the firewall is indeed active, but for private networks, it's not. So if you look at advanced settings, click on the properties here. You can see domain profile is on, private is off, and public is off. So if we were to set these two on, both of them, hit OK, then that check should, when it runs again, successfully pass. And we can take a look to see how often the script runs. So the name of that script was general Windows Firewall status. So we can go here, hit the G on the keyboard here, Windows Firewall status, and we can say, okay, it runs every 2 hours actually. So that script that checks the firewall status every 2 hours is pretty accurate. And you can adjust this too. If you say, you know what, I want to have this check done every hour or every 15 minutes, then you can do that too. Just be mindful of on how many scripts this is done, and also what type of interpreter they're using, and how resource intensive those scripts are. Because if you're running these scripts every minute, for example, all of them, then that could add some load on the monitor systems. But in most cases, these scripts are pretty lightweight and usually don't take more than a second or two to run. So if you're unsure what this script actually means, so this is a pretty straightforward example, firewall, anybody would understand this, but there's something a little more advanced. For example, here we have something that says, let's take a look, disable Windows RM. So here it says the WinRM service is actually running, so which is not recommended. And so if you're not sure how to resolve it, then you can click on remediation steps. That will bring you to the EventSentry.com website, where the script again is explained in more detail. So here it says that there are known vulnerabilities based on Windows RM, and it's best practice to disable it. And here the remediation is explained. So if you follow these steps, then you'll remediate the issue, and the next time the script that check is run, it should be recorded as passed. And of course, you can also compare validation scripts among monitored hosts. So for example, if we say, here's an interesting check, it's called Windows OS build version check. So this script actually verifies and makes sure that Windows is on the latest patch level. So if I check this here, go back to summary actually, we can do show all and say build version check. We're going to remove the failed here, and we're going to actually just remove all of them. And we're just going to run this specific script. You can see that it ran on 4 computers as expected, and that it failed on 2, but it passed on 2. So if we look at the details here, then we can see, okay, so this failed on the 2 servers, the 2019 and 2022, but it's successfully passed on the Windows 11 workstation on this EventSentry server. And as you know, we can group results here as well. So we click on results here, we can see passed and failed. We can then further look at it from the computer, so we can nicely visualize here, okay, on which computers did this script fail and on which ones did it pass. And you can do this for pretty much all of the, let's go back here, for all of the scripts. You can simply pick a script and see exactly and compare the results from all the monitored hosts. For example, again here, general Windows firewall status, we can see, okay, it passed on 3 and failed on 1. You can click on results, click on computers, and we'll see, okay, it passed on all of these, but it failed on the EventSentry computer here. And if you want to create a new package with a specific check, for example, let's say you wanted to create a new package called NIST, then you would simply create the package here, add an object to it, pick any tag, let's say NIST 100.171 desktop, simply add this, 36 scripts. We'll add the primary database, and now you just have to assign the package. And we could just say assign this to Docker, for example. And now on these groups, on these 2 groups here, Docker and Vienna, the NIST 800.171 desktop scripts would be running, and the results would show up a few minutes after the configuration would be deployed. And that's really how simple it is to manage these scripts. So simply create a package, decide where this script's going to run on, and select one or more tags that are applicable. And again, there's a lot of tags available for a lot of different compliance requirements, PCI, NIST, STIG, general threat intel, and so forth. And then simply assign the package, and then you can work with the results in EventSentry web reports.